Welcome back to the latest episode of the Flex Success podcast, where we teach you how to be less shit. As always, we will be your co-hosts. I'm Lizzie, and this is Dean.
Now, if you find value in this episode, be sure to give us a like, subscribe, and drop a comment below on YouTube. Share us with your friends, give us a 5-star rating on your favorite podcast app, and if you want to take a screenshot and tag us on Instagram, just do that by putting in @flex_success.
And while you're on Instagram, you can check out everything we offer, from our ebooks to courses and programs. You can book a consultation or inquire about coaching via the link in our bio, or you can do that on our website.
Enjoy the episode.
We are so pumped to have you back on, Flex Success Coach Chelsea. Welcome.
Thank you. I'm pumped to be back.
This is podcast number 3 for you on the Flex podcast.
I think so, yeah.
Cool. And they only get better. No pressure.
Yeah. They don't say third time's a charm. Not in this instance. They've all been good. Yeah.
Now, so much has happened with you since you've been on the podcast last. You bought your first house. Congratulations.
Thank you. I know it's huge. Before we were living in a 1-bedroom apartment throughout the whole pandemic. So now it's a huge change to have multiple rooms, multiple bathrooms. Yeah, it's much better.
And I bet your 2 dogs appreciate the extra play space.
Yes, very much.
If we were searching for Chelsea's place to holiday in, not that we're holidaying, but people think we are, it would say that it was cozy.
So yes, Chelsea, we have learnt how to read between the lines when it comes to describing accommodation. And cozy means a shoebox. Rustic means old and rusty.
It doesn't mean it means it's got work.
So we would have described your 1-bedroom apartment as cozy. I'm sure
rustic is the same as the purchaser's version of
a renovator's delight.
Renovator's delight, yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, don't we know it? And you have also competed since we had you on the podcast last too.
Yeah, I competed in 2 different competitions. So the first one was more of a regional competition. And so I was lucky enough to win that and then qualify for the NPC national show. And so I think that was a few weeks later, and I went there and I placed 6th in my class. And I was very excited because I haven't actually competed on a national stage in the US before. And just backstage was like, it was so cool. There were like 300 bikini girls that everybody looked deserving of winning. And like, it was just cool to see so many other people that put in so much work just as I have, and that had like all the same passion. So it was a really cool experience.
So there were 300 girls.
In the bikini category total, but then there are different height classes.
Right. God, that's so many.
How long did that division take?
Or forever. I was still getting my makeup done. I hadn't actually started my makeup when the first class went on, which was very nerve-wracking, but I made it in time.
With the federation that you competed in, do you have to get your tan by this company, your makeup by this company, your hair by this one? No? Okay.
No, but it makes it easier. It was it wasn't in my same state, so I didn't really have any connections there. So I just went with whatever they had.
Yeah.
NPCs is like the amateur name for what we would classify as the amateur IFBB in Australia.
Right. Okay.
So it's a big federation. The nationals is huge in America.
So how come you decided to compete again?
You know what? I don't know if I actually made the decision. I started working with the coach again just because. So for a while I was handling all my own training and nutrition. And then I just really wanted to see what my body was capable of. So I hired a coach that I was working with, and we did a whole building season. And then it just came time to cut. And then there were just shows that kind of fit in there if we just extended it. So I don't know if I actually made the exact decision, but it
went there.
Yeah. And it's so cool. I find the process so cool, just to actually see how much improvement that I've made. And I was very pleasantly surprised that, I looked a lot different from when I competed in 2020.
Did you find that approach less stressful, not having a specific date until kind of towards the end?
What, being 52 weeks out, 51 weeks out, 50 weeks out?
Yeah, I've made a cut, I've done a cut. Oh, I actually look really good. Hey, there's a show in 12 weeks. I can make that. As opposed to the typical, I want to compete in 12 months or 18 months, and then you do this amount of time for a cut, I'll build, and this amount of time for a cut.
Yes and no. And only because I've pretty much only have done it this way. Right, because there's so many shows here that we don't have to make a certain show. If I didn't make that first regional show, I could have competed the next weekend somewhere else relatively close.
Yeah,
so Yeah.
American.
But also
UK.
like I kind of like having a time frame too, because you could always be just a little bit better, or if you make a mistake, we can just extend it a week, and I think that can just get a little bit taxing on your mindset, like, okay, like let's
When
do
is
it.
this over?
Yeah. Exactly.
And also for the partner. Oh, by the way, I'm prepping in 12 weeks. You're like, damn it.
I think that's something a lot of people forget, how hard it is on the support system.
I still think you need to make that Facebook group.
I think so.
Partners of competitors.
How does
Yeah.
Derek handle it? Does your relationship change?
Luckily, Derek is also a personal trainer and coach himself. So, and he has also competed in one bodybuilding show in his life. So he understands. Yeah, he is a huge support to me. It's really good that I have him. He will still eat the same foods that he likes to eat, which a lot of times is pizza and tacos. Those are his favorite foods. So he'll either have those foods when he knows I'm not going to be home. I know he's ate them in the car before coming in the house. Like he's a huge help. And then, when I'm not feeling my best, he just helps me like look at myself objectively and like helps just remind me how far I've come, because as you guys know, like as you're on a weight loss journey, you're not always seeing things objectively in yourself as somebody else could. So yeah, he was a huge help, and like not putting any pressure on me to, go any place or be anywhere, because I'm already type A, but during a comp prep, like my schedule is my schedule, and it takes a lot for me to change it. So for me to fit in all the cardio and movement that I had to do, it just meant that like I couldn't really do many social events, even if I brought my food, I just wouldn't have time to actually do those things.
Yeah,
So.
totally. Because I know from working with you, what's it been, like 2 years now?
I know.
Something like that. Wow. You have an immaculate level of detail, like attention to detail is what I'm trying to say. And that doesn't seem to change regardless of how much you have going on. Sometimes when people are doing 5 things in a day, as soon as they take on the 6th thing, attention to detail goes out the window, but not with you. So I can imagine that you found the process like exciting and great, but also exhausting.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know me.
There's that nod of approval.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, I'm sitting here going, Liz ain't a Derek. She's eating the pizza right in my face and asking me if I want some.
But you're not a Chelsea.
No,
like
I'm
you
not.
were fine with it.
Yeah,
that's like if it really hurt you, of course I would eat pizza in the car.
I reckon you'd do it.
No, I wouldn't.
You
Of course I wouldn't.
I know you wouldn't. I'm just trying to make you out to be an absolute devil woman.
But actually, what we want to talk about today is ways to help people be consistent to the plan or improve adherence. And I know that after your competition, which we just spoke about, you kind of struggled with consistency and adherence to a plan. And not only do you understand the theory of what we're going to talk about, you also understand the application, because these were things that you usually find easy, but at a point in time, because of where you were with your body fat and the psychological drivers to eat, you had to put your money where your mouth what's the saying?
Oh, yeah.
You know what it is. You had to actually implement what you're teaching people because you no longer found it easy.
Right. Yeah, I think, the biggest thing is that the goal has changed, because with the competition, there's obviously a show date. And then once you're past the show date, you're no longer working to get on stage. Now what's next? And I think for me, like I was very, very clear. I was very happy with competing. I had so much fun, but as soon as it was over, like there were so many other things in my life I wanted to do. So like we hadn't gone out to eat in months. We haven't really like properly celebrated moving into our new house, and like just so many things to celebrate. Plus it was middle of summer here, and I live in a place where we only get the sunshine for a short amount of time, and sunshine means a lot to me. So I wanted to go out and celebrate. So what kind of happened is that the scales shifted too much, because I was on such low calories for myself and so much high cardio that I was still doing those. I was still, eating my base meals, and I was still doing my required cardio to kind of get out of the competition shape, but all the weight just came back on faster than I expected. And I've competed before, and I knew this was going to happen, but as you're in it, I think it's sometimes hard just to like step outside of yourself and actually be objective with what's happening, and instead just kind of let your emotions take over. And mine definitely did. So I still, to be fair, I still kept up all my habits, but it was just that I was eating more treats or maybe staying up later or not getting my water in. And so not all of it was necessarily fat gain, but it all showed up on the scale in that way. And it was a little disheartening because, you know, you put in all of this work. Obviously, you don't want to stay stage lean, and that's not the goal. But coming back so fast was a little bit of a challenge mentally.
Yeah, I don't think there's enough stock put in it, because you spend 20, 30 weeks, for some people, even longer, heading towards a particular goal. And then you're immediately expected to reverse your thought pattern around what is now classified as successful each week. And it's kind
or
of
even
like,
where you put your focus each week.
Yeah, it's like having, like, you know, this cake that you've built up over time, and it gets really nice and juicy and nice, and then as you finish,
no one's ever described a cake as juicy.
No, right?
Okay.
It's delicious. Let's just say it's delicious and
Fluffy?
moist.
Okay, moist.
It's a moist cake. And then you, instead of getting to eat, you have to watch it just slowly crumble through your hands week after week after week, and you're just kind of like, what the fuck, man? I worked so hard for that. And then it just
this juicy cake.
And everyone's like, but it's okay. This is why you did it.
Yeah.
You know? You're like, eh.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I guess I always just want to be a good example to my clients on how to reverse out of a diet and things. So I think that also got in my head, like, oh, I don't want to appear that like I can't even do what I'm like what I'm preaching to everybody. But now I'm in a much better place. You know, every single week I just try to look at things more objectively, like compare my photos to the last time I was this weight. I look better. All my clothes fit again. So like, that's a plus. For a while, like pinning I don't buy new clothes. I just like pin things because I'm only stage lean for such a short amount of time anyway. Yeah, so things are much better now, and I'm like feeling good. I think looking at things outside of just like my physical appearance, so like how I'm feeling, I'm like so energetic these days. Like I don't need coffee anymore. I'm, you know, like everything's just, my brain's back. I think one of my clients, as soon as I was done and kind of eating again, he's like, oh, so you're gonna have a personality again? Because I guess just for a while it was just counting reps and that was it. So yeah.
Realize.
Yeah, well, I said the same thing to Dean, because your personality, like, you know, fades over time. And
but also there's a lot of internal dialogue you're having as the competitor, where you think you're doing all right. Like, I'm doing all right here. Or you might be like having a conversation that isn't happening out loud, that you think is like solidifying that you feel okay, that you're behaving okay, that you're performing okay, but you're still mute.
Well, okay is not optimal, is it? Because
no, but my point is that you have this internal dialogue that makes you think you're doing very well.
Okay.
But in actual application, you're just a mute individual that's saying nothing.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
Whereas you're having great conversations.
Yeah, I haven't insulted anyone. This is great. It's like, yeah, you also haven't said a word.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Yeah.
Exactly.
We went to, I told Derek that I like didn't feel like I had enough like laughter or like playfulness in my life, which obviously you don't near the show. So we went to a comedy show. He kept looking over at me. Then at the end, he's like, you did not even smile. He's like, I thought maybe it was just because you were a woman, you didn't find it attractive or like funny. And then he looks around, he's like, no, there's women laughing. Maybe it's your age. Like, that wasn't it. He's like, you just.
Did you find it funny?
No. I didn't think any of it was funny.
Oh, so you were actually dead.
I thought you were going to say you found it funny, but you didn't have the energy to laugh.
No, it was like none of it, but it was, I know it was funny, just at the time, like, yeah, it was challenging.
Mm.
Life is so hard. Comedy isn't even funny anymore. That's when you know you're near comp.
So was there a moment then, Chelsea, that you could pinpoint where you sort of turned it around, or is it more like just the accumulation of those good behaviors that you started to sort of?
I think mostly time. Like at first I was just feeling like a failure that, oh, like this much weight has been put on this week and it doesn't seem to be coming off. Oh, this week here's another pound up or something. But now it's like it's far enough away from show that, you know, I should be at this, in my opinion, I should be at this weight anyway. So what that I got there quicker, but at least I'm holding it. It's like I'm not like going the wrong way.
You haven't exceeded.
Yeah.
I mean, I do think it's a common experience because you mentioned before, like you felt like you're a bit of a failure, you know, you couldn't implement the things that you were telling your clients to do, or, you know, you might not have wanted to voice that because you might not have seemed maybe like, I don't know, like these were the problems that you're helping your clients with and you have these problems too. I think that actually makes a better coach because you can relate And it's
Mhm.
like a personal trainer who's never lifted weights before trying to teach someone how to lift weights. Like, you've got to do the thing. So not only do you understand the theory, like, you've been there, you've been in the hole and you've pulled yourself out. So I think it's really cool that not that you've just been there, but you're able to admit it, and you're able to like kind of get on your clients.
Yeah,
Yeah.
good perspective. Thanks.
Yeah. What are some of the things that you found helped with consistency to a plan or adherence?
Right. So I think first off, like, consistency isn't the same as being perfect. So just kind of throwing away that all or nothing mindset. There's always going to be like roadblocks, I guess. Like, if you think of your fat loss journey, say, as like a road trip, there's always going to be red lights or accidents along the way, but at the end, you're still going to get there, even if, it takes you an extra hour. And that's kind of the same thing that happens along your fitness journey throughout your whole life. So just knowing that, like, one single event isn't going to derail your long-term progress. So I think that's the first thing, because I think when people think consistently, consistency, they mean they think 100% or nothing, and there's definitely a range, as we know. So after getting past that, I would say just have a strong driver as to why you're doing this, because if you don't have like something that you're like that's really important to you, like losing 5 kilos or losing 10 pounds, like, sounds great, but it seems like a lot of times people always have this excuse. So unless you have like a reason how your life is going to change, how your life will be better once you've lost this weight, how your relationships will improve, how maybe your work performance will improve, it's hard to stick to it when things get tough. And no matter what time of year it is, there's always something that's going to kind of come up that is going to make it challenging.
I like that question though, like, why am I doing this? Because if people can't answer it, maybe the answer is I shouldn't be. Like, I want to lose 5 kilos because, I don't know, weight loss is pushed on me by social media. So that's a great question.
Yeah,
Definitely.
and it needs to be meaningful enough to actually have enough oomph behind it, I suppose, to continue to drive the behaviors that may otherwise like be a little bit more difficult to sustain.
Yeah, maybe the answer is really meaningful, and like you said, when those challenges do come up, it's like, well, how does this tie to a value? Like, I value hard work, and right now I need to put that value into practice because it feels like hard work right now.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. Or I value friendships where I can smile and laugh.
Yeah, exactly.
I would imagine that you would value being a provider of friendship to Chelsea, knowing you. Like, you don't want to be, I think, like the passenger in a friendship, but rather you want your friends to feel like you're there for them. And then when you start to realize your personality's out the corner, all of a sudden it's like, oh, okay, I need to try and get back to normal a bit quicker because I didn't realize how much of an impact this was having on me and my friends. Whereas I'm quite happy just being nobody's friend.
Dean doesn't need many friends, it's true. Okay, cool. So so ask yourself the question and keep that in mind when things get difficult. And if you can't answer the question, maybe the answer is I shouldn't.
And consistency is not perfection.
Yeah, because kind of setting yourself up for failure if you're not really clear on why you're doing it, because it's easy then to just, when you're at a fun event or you're out to dinner or something, it's easy just to say, like, not really think about your goals in the moment unless you have something that's really drawing you to it. And then you kind of get in that guilty cycle. Then you wake up in the morning and you're like, why did I do that last night? I'm going to restrict today. And it's just that ongoing cycle. So I think having that strong driver is really important. And then, okay, so just past that, then how to stay consistent. It seems obvious, but not many people do it on their own, at least, is just to have a plan on how to track your consistency. Okay. Because without actually having something objective, it's really easy to think, what I hear a lot, I've been really good this week. Like, what does that mean? Like, have you met your protein target? How many days this week? Like, I think maybe. So like, having a plan. So what I recommend is having something visual. So if you do work in an office or if you're in a certain room of your house for a lot of the time of the day, like having a calendar and actually writing in maybe the 2 or 3 things that are the most important for you to complete every day. So like, for example, like your your movement, say you want to hit 10,000 steps just arbitrarily, and your protein target, and maybe you'll highlight it in green, or I don't know, even have a sticker that you put up there. Like, sounds silly, but once you can see it all right in front of you, it's really helpful to kind of continue on, because you're seeing that you've already had a streak, and nobody likes to break a streak.
Yeah, there's some habit tracker apps out there. Like, if someone wants to use a highlighter or stickers on a calendar, like, knock yourself out. But if someone wants like a digital app, there's just Google habit tracker apps. They're out there.
But similarly, it's very important that we realize that you don't need to have 100% green highlighters on this.
Yeah,
but it's just as a reminder to individuals, because it's really easy to get caught up on that one red highlighter if you decided to be like that to yourself, which I wouldn't recommend. I don't know about you girls, but
no,
I wouldn't read it if I didn't get it done.
What do you mean?
Like, as in, like, you're going to go green for success. I did this today. You don't want to go and red highlight anything you missed as a reminder of what you didn't do.
You would just leave it blank.
Just leave it blank.
Okay.
Move it to the next.
Yeah. And then you can take a long-term view and just see the calendar or app in front of you and be like, oh, okay, out of the month, I have more greens than not greens.
Then blanks.
Than blanks. And then, because it's all consistency is just what you do on average. It's not, that one meal doesn't make a big difference. That one day isn't going to make a big difference. But if you let that fall into a pattern, you have one bad meal, so then the next day you feel bad, so you have a bad breakfast, or maybe you even skip breakfast, and then it just kind of perpetuates. That's what we want to stop, is that one event turning into a pattern.
Yeah, for sure. I know a saying that you love from the Atomic Habits book is never miss twice. So, you've missed a workout yesterday, just don't miss it today, because then yesterday turns into today, which turns into tomorrow and turns into a new habit.
Yeah,
and it can
exactly.
snowball. Yeah,
exactly.
For sure.
Then that becomes your new consistency, which is the polar opposite of what we're trying to achieve.
Yeah, for sure. All right. So all of this stuff, I feel like, is such good advice. And I wonder if listeners are sitting there going, yeah, that all makes sense. But they might not actually be like putting it into practice, because even though things are simple, that doesn't mean that it's easy. So maybe some advice we could give is, like, out of the things you've spoken about, perhaps we can summarize them. Choose one. What do you want to do? Do you want to track your habits? Do you want to shake off the all or nothing mindset? What were the other things you gave?
Having an actual plan.
Having an actual plan. Yeah. And it doesn't have to be like, I'm going to eat exactly 73 grams of broccoli, but it could be like, I'm going to include vegetables in every meal. Like a flexible plan like that. Just choose one. What do you think, Dean?
What else have we got, Chelsea? Any other tips?
Tons of tips. I'm not at a loss for tips. But yeah, I think that another thing is just like having a plan, but then also having a plan for when the plan fails.
Plan B.
Because because things are not going to go right. Say you had planned out, say on Sunday night, you had planned out all of your meals, maybe you meal prepped and have things like ready to go, but then Tuesday comes and you woke up late and you forgot to grab the food out of the fridge when you went. So now what do you do? Or do you just go out to McDonald's, or what is your contingency plan for getting your lunch? So I think that's what you just said, of like having some like small guidelines around what you are going to eat. So, okay, I'm always going to have protein first and then veggies, whatever your options are, kind of have, to have that guideline instead of just kind of eating whatever, just because you made one small mistake.
What about the flip of that? This is one I think it's quite difficult for competitors to navigate in the post-comp phase. And that is that they have a plan in place. They intend to eat a certain amount. They're adhering to that flexible sort of framework that they generally are. But then late in the afternoon, they get the invite to dinner. And it's almost like oh no, I've already eaten all my calories. Now, we don't want them to miss that social outing. But maybe what's some of the, I suppose, strategies they could use in that instance? Because I think that's probably pretty common.
This is post-comp, right? This isn't like leading into a show.
Post-comp, yeah.
Oh, after the show?
After the show.
I would say that you should go if it's important to you enough to go. I think always like just thinking like, just because you can doesn't mean you should all the time. So if it is like a group of friends or a family that is important for you to go, go. And then just make the best choices you can. Like post show, I think is like you should enjoy the people you're with, share foods if you want to, and then always order something that's going to make you feel good afterwards. So again, like not one dinner is going to make or break anything.
Yeah. One thing that I think it was the second podcast you brought up, I call it the Chelsea scale, and I teach it to so many people. And I call it the Chelsea scale because you introduced me to the idea, is to score how much you want something on a scale of 1 to 10, removing the 7. You remember teaching us this in the second podcast? So we remove the 7 because the 7 is like ambiguous. It's not really high or low. I don't really not want it. I don't really want it. So you think, do I want to go to this social event a 2 out of 10 or an 8 or a 9 out of 10? And if you really want to go, if it's like an 8 or above, maybe you should go. If it's like a 6 or below, like, yeah, take it or leave it.
Yeah.
And you can do it for a food craving.
I was about to say the same thing. When they go to dinner, they could ask themselves that.
Do I want this burger? Yeah.
Yeah. And then similarly, they could even ask themselves, if I do want the burger at an 8, do I want to potentially manipulate my behaviors the next day?
Yeah. Do I want to just have a protein and vegetable day?
Yeah. If we were saying that was the way to go, or it's just a recognition that, hey, like you said, it's consistency, average
it's one
over
meal.
time.
Yeah.
One meal ain't going to do squat.
I use the Chelsea scale all the time. Like I still have 2,000 steps left to do. I really want to stay on the couch. On a scale of 1 to 10, how much do I want to stay on the couch? Just go for the damn walk, like, you know. Or I walk past the kitchen and I know there's these really good wafers they have here in Istanbul. I was like, oh, I want 2 more wafers. How much do I want those wafers? Yeah, it's definitely not an 8 or above. I'm going to leave them. I use the Chelsea scale all the time.
That works.
I don't like the Chelsea scale because 7's my favorite number.
You can't use the 7. I'm sorry, Dean.
David Beckham was number 7.
Was he?
Yeah.
Dean has a boy crush on David Beckham.
I did, not anymore.
Who doesn't?
Me now. Who doesn't? See, there you go.
Me,
Yeah.
I don't.
He's too skinny for this.
Yeah, it's not my flavor.
But also like having a guideline of how many times you will eat out. So post comp, I guess with me at least, I didn't want to feel like I wanted to get over like the feelings of being restricted as soon as I could. So I think helpful for me was to be able to go and order what I wanted to order at most places and like enjoy it and not feel like, oh, I have to have like steamed, like get into the habit of like steamed veggies and chicken like I would before. But that can easily become into a habit, especially as I was saying, like it's summer, there's so many things to celebrate here. And I don't necessarily want to say no to everything. So I would just kind of at the beginning of the week, like, okay, here are my goals for the week or for the month. I'm going to allow myself to go out to eat this many times of how many times I can go out to eat. It has to be, like a foundational diet thing with the protein and veg first. And then this many times, probably one, I can have something that I just want to eat without having any guilt, or feeling like restricted in any way. So that way I know, okay, I'm not going to go overboard, but I still am able to enjoy life.
Yeah.
So it sounds like you understood that it's not a switch between full restriction, which is comp prep, and YOLO after. It was like you played in the gray area. You still went out, but sometimes there were still boundaries around what you chose off a menu. Like, it sounds sensible. You shook the all or nothing mindset. It wasn't like, no more comp, burgers only.
Yeah, I think the opportunity for flexibility is super important within a framework like you've mentioned.
Yeah.
I typically, for most of my guys, actually last comp, there would be a note in most of their stuff that said 1 free meal per week, macros tracked up to this prior to that meal. So there was a calorie allotment for them, but I didn't care if they ate more or they ate less. They're just like, that's your meal, you know? And then it would be, and you should have up to 3 semi-tracked meals eaten out that probably aren't that accurate, but you should at least try. So that, and then it was just, this is your option. You don't have to take it. You don't, whatever it may be. Some people would, some people wouldn't. Or it might have even been, hey, you get 1 day per week or 2 days per week where it's just protein and calories. So then they can have some more like fattier food if they choose to have some more.
So you gave them some autonomy.
Yeah, and then each client would get their own version of that. depending on what their preferences were.
For people listening who can't really relate to the whole comp prep thing, maybe like you haven't competed before, we could also just draw a comparison to a fat loss phase. Like Chelsea's fat loss phase was just extreme because she got super duper lean for a competition. But people have these same issues when they finish a diet, regardless if your diet was for a competition or just because you wanted to look good naked. So yeah, I hope this like broadens the scope of who this is appropriate for.
Yeah. And it's super important for those individuals because they're typically going from
they're trying to sustain
fat loss to a sustainable weight. That they want to sustain, as opposed to Chelsea, myself, other competitors where you've gone from X weight to a new weight and then you want to get back to roughly what X weight was.
Yeah,
assuming
you're trying to recover from the diet for a competition, but for just a regular diet, you're trying to sustain the weight that you've lost.
Yeah, so you need to find ways for these behaviors to drive these consistency outcomes.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Well, I think that you could probably give us tips for days.
I could.
Yeah.
I just want to say one more tip before if trying to close this out, is to be solutions focused, instead of just like allowing the external environment to control you. So for example, I hear a lot of people say like, well, I can't do that because I don't have enough time. I have to look after the kids and I have to go to work and I can't do it, or, just some excuse like that. So of course we can always throw those out there, but excuses sound best to the person making them. So it's just, how can you make this work? If you had to, what steps could you take to make this work? And just always kind of keeping that in mind.
Solution focus is good. It's much nicer than my approach.
What?
I say to people, I'm pretty sure I've seen Barack Obama go for a run every day. How busy really are you? I see presidents and prime ministers going for runs all the time.
Yeah, but I mean, we're not taking this so far as to say like, we know that it's not as easy for everyone, which I know we all acknowledge. Like people who have children or work multiple jobs or study and work, it is harder for them. But Chelsea, you're still saying you're still empowered, regardless of how busy you are. You can make something work. Maybe not the optimal plan, but like, what can you? Maybe you can't do 10,000 steps a day. Maybe you can do 6. Can you do like, maybe that's the solution, just compromising on the goals.
Yeah, exactly. Because we're not trying to be 100% perfect. We're just trying to do the best we can with every day that we're given. And some days things are going to come up and life's going to be thrown at us. And then some days it's going to go exactly to plan. So as long as we're, doing the best we can with the day that we have, overall, we're going to make progress. I
want more of those days that go exactly to plan. Tell me where I can buy them. I would like more. All right. So we like to wrap up an episode with a how to be less shit tip. So if you had to send the listeners home with the take home point, how they could be less shit, what might that be?
I mean, just thinking about everything that we talked about today, just to kind of wrap it up, like, I think have a plan. That's kind of the first step on everything. Just have a plan, and allow yourself to be flexible with that plan, but just know where you're going, have a direction.
I think without a plan, a goal is just a dream,
And success is also unknown. Because you don't know what is successful. You don't.
Yeah, like I want to get myself out of debt. Like, okay, sweet. What do you like? What's your plan? What are you going to do? If you just you just want to get out of debt, and you don't have a budget or some sort of boundaries to spend within, like that's just a dream. So
yeah, or the language after a fat loss phase is I want to try and maintain my new physique. Cool.
How are you going to do that? What steps are you going to take?
Good luck.
Yeah. I mean, if anybody out there wants help with the plan, even just sort of a skeleton where they can fill in the details, and you don't think coaching is for you, all of the coaches at Flex Success offer consultation calls. If you just want to jump on a call and we can get to know your goals, your individual needs, and we can give you some ideas. It's not that we're going to, unless you really need it, necessarily put the plan together for you, but just give you some ideas, something practical that will work for you.
Help people find solutions.
Yeah, help people find solutions. Exactly. So you can check out the consult link via the link in bio on Instagram or from the website. But otherwise, thank you, Chelsea. I do think that all of that was really practical information. And I hope that listeners aren't just like, that was interesting. I hope that you guys actually go ahead and decide what point do you think will work for you best? What are you going to implement? Yeah. All right. Do you have something worth sharing with our audience today? It can be obscure or odd or totally normal and practical. Something worth sharing.
Like what you did for 12 years at one point?
Oh, so listeners, we have a little questionnaire that we give to our guests, including Chelsea, that says, like, what was the question? Tell us something interesting about you. You said that you were a baton twirler for 12 years.
Yep, exactly.
Share that.
I think I never wanted to do dance, so that was just more of like a skill-based thing. And I got into it when I was young, and I went all the way up until I was a senior in high school, which was too long. And then, as much as I loved it, it was getting embarrassing, so I had to cut it there. I wasn't good enough to be like a baton twirler for college, so had to stop that. But it was really fun. Did a lot of talent shows, a lot of recitals, a lot of competitions.
Do you have a video?
Yeah, probably
I'd
somewhere.
love to see one.
Okay, I'll try to find one
Do you
for
ever
you.
get this skill set out at parties?
Yeah.
Well, I don't. If like I can twirl a stick or something, if like you were at a bonfire,
Yeah.
but I mean, I would have
You
to
don't
have
travel
something
around
to
with
twirl.
your, yeah, so you don't travel around with your baton and
I do not.
just in case, you know.
That is a cool party trick, though. My party trick is that I can lick my elbow.
Can you?
But yeah, I can.
It's not supposed to be possible.
Yeah, look, for
Yeah, I
those
think
watching
so.
on YouTube, I'm going to rustle my mic a little bit here, but let's get it done.
She does it easily too.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, no, like
Is that because your arms are shorter than they need to?
no,
Like,
she
why?
has the
Why is
ability to
that?
push her shoulder backwards.
I don't have short humeruses. I have pretty average lengthed humeruses. Yeah, I think so. For those only listening, what I do is with my right hand, I grab my left tricep and I sort of push my shoulder back, and my scapula like goes all the way back, and I just think I have really flexible
Go on
shoulders.
then, Chelsea.
I can't. But I bet I have a client that I think could do that. I'm going to ask her next time I
not
see her.
even getting close.
But I like your party trick better. No, Dean, you're so far away. The baton twirling is much more impressive than my licking of the elbow.
That's a goodie.
All right. Second last segment before we wrap it up. This is a hot to topic where we ask an opinion-based question. So there is no right or wrong. Just tell us what you think.
It depends on the debate.
But first we need to play you the hot to topic
Please
song.
intro us.
You may dance to this song if you like.
Hot to topic, hot to topic. Hot to topic, hot to topic. Hot to topic, hot to topic. Topic.
Did you know I was so good at singing?
I was waiting on Chelsea to bring the baton today.
Yeah, you should have
Could you
twirled to
imagine?
that
I
song.
should
That
have.
would have been
We could
amazing.
definitely have a video that just
Oh
comes
man, this would have gone like viral on YouTube.
over there. For all the wrong reasons.
Now, Dean has come up with the hot topic today.
Mm.
Shoot.
It's competitor focused
Mhm.
and it's two parts. Chelsea, what is your opinion on whether or not judges of bodybuilding competitions should be capable or allowed to coach those that compete in those shows?
Mhm.
That's part one.
And the conflict of interest is that the judge has an interest in scoring their client higher.
There's a bias,
Yeah,
at
there's a
least that
bias.
exists to some extent.
Okay. That's question one. What's question two?
I'll follow that up afterwards.
Okay.
Yeah.
Shoot.
Oh, okay. No, I don't think they should be able to.
All right.
I think there's an unfair advantage. We're all people. Like, it's already a subjective sport. So just like even the more that you're exposed to something in real life, the more you like it, which is why like songs become more popular. And it's not something we even do consciously. So yeah, I don't think that should be allowed, because even the more you see the person, even if they aren't even deserving of winning, because you're more familiar with them, it might get in your head. And I know there's like strict like ways to judge each category, but the human bias can get in the way either way.
Yeah.
To play devil's advocate,
Mhm.
what if the judge is removed from the table for the class in which their client is competing?
Okay. So you're saying they're a judge of the show, but like maybe they would never judge bikini because they coach bikini athletes?
Yes.
Okay, that could be fine.
Yeah, I don't see the problem with that.
I do.
Why? What is it?
because as a coach, it is almost always known who your clients are.
Yeah.
And I think regardless of the fact that the other judges are supposed to not have bias, it's still the same situation that you were talking about before, Chelsea, that it's easy to go, oh, there's Chelsea's client, and then they get the opportunity for a call out before somebody else does.
So you're saying the other coaches might have a preference
the other
for
judges.
The other judges, yeah.
I think they can unconsciously look at individuals that they're aware of before they look at individuals they've never seen before. And that can potentially be a bit.
Oh man, there's already so much politics surrounding bodybuilding, and also like people who are really popular on social media get in front of the judges through the judge's phone screen so much. So this is just like another layer.
So even then, to expand on that a little bit further, most judges, I am under the assumption, but I think I'm under the belief that is the case, that it's generally a volunteer job. If not, it's paid very, very lightly. So are we, or who are we to say that they can't earn a living and still then volunteer to be a judge if they're doing something that is otherwise like a nice thing for them to do?
Because if there's a conflict of interest, even if you're a volunteer, then perhaps you should.
You're saying you either have to decide to either be a coach or be a judge.
Well,
even though the judging doesn't pay.
Ask Chelsea. This is Chelsea's hot topic. What do you think, Chelsea?
Yeah, I don't know how much they're paid, but at least in the US, like there's a team of judges that are like the higher that you want to get in front of. And they're always working, always traveling around. I don't know how much they get paid or anything, but I would assume they get paid something because they are like in a different city every weekend of the year. And I can't imagine anybody would just volunteer all that time. But yeah, no, I don't. Yeah. Like being a coach and being a judge are two different things. Like you can judge somebody, but not know how to bring them into that condition. Or you can say like I want to see you more, more conditioned next time, but don't know how to work with the human body to get them conditioned. So I think it's two different skill sets anyway.
Yeah.
But do you think that even though they're two different skill sets, there still might be a conflict of interest?
Yeah, I don't think you should be able to be a judge in it.
Neither do I, for the record.
You've convinced me on like not judging your
Neither do I, because I would hate to be a judge, have a client who was unquestionably the best, or maybe even questionably the best, and they win, and me feel like
did they win because
other
of the
people
bias?
even thought that it was the bias.
Yeah.
Like I would hate to take that away from my athlete as a coach. So I find it an odd thing for a coach to want to do anyway. I can see why they might want to be a judge, but I just think like the con of it is greater than the pro.
Some coaches don't care. Honestly, when I was prepping for a competition like a lifetime ago, weeks out from the comp, one of the judges asked me out. I was single at the time, so it wasn't sus for that reason. But I said no because I thought if I said yes and I do well in the competition, I'll always wonder if I did well because, I accepted all the answers.
Depending on how good of a kiss you are, I guess.
Rate me on 1 to 10, Dean. How good of a kiss?
No. I'm not a judge. I'm not a judge. I'm a competitor. I compete with you and that's it.
Okay. All right. What's the second part of this question, Chelsea?
The second part, I think, is maybe a little bit more boring, but do we think that promoters of shows should be allowed to have contact with the judging panel?
Yeah. So I don't understand this question. Why would that be a problem?
Because promoters could potentially also influence the judging.
How?
Well, judging is typically done this way. They will have 7 judges, just to pick it. The person who scores the highest is in
the competitor.
The
judge.
The judge who scores the highest and says, "I think Dean's the best," and then as a number, and then the person who scores the lowest, they're both removed, and then it's a tally for the other 5
judges. Yeah,
and then at the end of that tally, the head judge has the opportunity to overrule anything he or she deems to be incorrect in their eyes. So technically, even though you've got 5, 6, 7 judges, you can just have one judge make a decision.
Right.
And it could be argued that maybe a promoter may try and influence a head judge because they're the ones that are usually going to be hiring, if it's best for the show.
Okay. So your question to Chelsea is,
should promoters be allowed near the judges during the shows? Or should they just stick to being that their promoter?
Like, do you know that they try and do you know of any scenario where a promoter has tried to influence a judge's decision?
There's been instances where it seems like it may have happened.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh. Yeah, I never knew about that either. I would have asked the same questions as Lizzie. But I mean, yeah, it's already so subjective. So the more that we can make it less, the politics of it less, I think is a good thing.
Yeah.
Do you think there would be a lot of pushback if someone tried to implement a rule where promoters weren't allowed to meet the judges during a show?
If there was, I would question the promoters' intentions.
If there was pushback.
Yeah. Because why should they care? It's kind of like the whole, like, not that I'm suggesting that we should all be watched by the government, but should the government want to watch me, I'd probably be like, whatever. I've got nothing to hide. But if I was a criminal, I'm probably going to get my back up against that.
We're all criminals. We all speed a little bit.
Yeah. So it depends on what kind of digging they're going to do. You know?
I was going to mention other little petty crimes that I do, but I was like, probably shouldn't. I can think of plenty, but I probably shouldn't.
We all speed a bit, push old ladies over.
Take heroin.
Snort coffee. Well, that's not illegal. That's just weird.
I think snorting coffee should be illegal. That's so odd.
I did do that on my box party once.
You snorted coffee on your box
party? I don't
party?
know why.
Did you?
Yeah.
Okay.
You know, it's funny. So this is in my previous marriage to Liz. Didn't have a bucks party.
Did you know Dean was married before me?
Oh, hot to topic. No. Yeah. So we went away to this like surf camp, quick little story. And it was out like 5 hours from Brisbane in near somewhere on the New South Wales coastline, right? And you get put into these shipping containers and you sleep there for 2 nights and then you learn how to surf over a couple of days and you have a big bonfire at a party. It was mad. But all of the typical Aussie surfing boys were the instructors and they were lads. So one day before our surf lesson, we were there getting hammered. And then just stupidly, as boys will do, Liz, boys will be boys.
Do not say that.
I did. We thought it'd be hilarious to snort coffee.
Okay.
Well, someone did thought it would be hilarious. And then we were like, that's ridiculous, but sure, why
That
not?
would have been horrible.
And then one of the surfing guy comes past, he goes, you guys racking lines on the table? We're like, nah, it's just coffee. He's like, I can line me up, boys. I don't know. We're like, okay. So this random...
Was it Nescafe?
Yeah.
Okay.
Just snorted a line of coffee. He's like, all right, let's go surf.
Why not? I snorted beer once.
That's a bad idea.
Yeah.
It is actually. It was a terrible idea. It felt like my nose was about to pop off. It was not fun. And it was for no good reason. I just thought it would be funny. I was at. Have you ever met my friend Lawrence? From Penn? Yeah, it was with Lawrence.
Of course it was.
Fucking Lawrence. Lawrence gets up to no good. He's so funny. All right. Final question of the show.
Oh, it's a would you rather.
Would you rather snort coffee or squirt slightly spicy tomato sauce in your eye?
What? Tomato sauce is never spicy.
But this, in this
like hot sauce?
So
no,
not
not like full sriracha, not like full Tabasco, but like slightly spicy tomato sauce.
Yeah, that one, I think.
Really? Over snorting coffee?
I've never snorted anything, so I'm not sure how I'd react, but I can handle something in my eye. I also wear contacts, so it kind of blocks.
Okay.
Like I can chop onions without crying because of my contacts.
Is that why? Because I wear contacts too.
I think so.
Right.
She might. No, I ain't doing
I
that.
always thought Dean was broken and I was just a superior human, but maybe it's the contact lens thing. I don't know.
A little bit of coffee, a little bit of coffee. Wow. Okay.
Well,
chili in the eye over a bit of coffee up the nose. It's just like drip coffee if you think about it.
Yeah. Except your body. Yeah. All right. Well, Chelsea, on that note, thank you so much for coming on. Another great episode.
Great. Yeah, it was fun.
Definitely do this again sometime soon.
Sounds good.
Definitely be snorting coffee on the next one.
Yes. Let's snort coffee on the next podcast recording.
I know I don't want to ruin my new nose.
Dean got his nose fixed and might ruin it.
Thanks for coming on, Chelsea.
All right. Sounds good. Thanks.